Okay guys, let's jump right into it. This is the hibiscus. You're going to have this long finger piece and they should be about 2.5 inches long. Some of them came a little bit longer, so go ahead and trim them down. You're going to tack that onto a stem at one end and then just roll the stem up, making a nice little bundle. Add a little bit more weld to keep everything in the right place. And then you can bend down some of those fingers, just the first row or outside-most ring, I guess. Now, this is going to take a minute, but you're going to cut apart all of the flower pieces. It's a lot of trimming, but it's easy to do with a good pair of wire snips. Each one gets pinched in on itself a little bit just to fold that hole in the center closed a little bit, give it a little bit of shape, and then you just tack it on to the end of one of the stem pieces. If you mess up and you burn through, don't worry about it. Line it back up, tack it again. You're not going to notice the difference. You're going to do the first bottom outermost ring, then move on and do another one, repeat, another ring, repeat. You can shape them into place. That 20 gauge will bend well enough that you can form that up into a nice little ball. And that is the, what did I say, hibiscus? What is this? This is a hydrangea, not a hibiscus. I'm working on a hibiscus. So that's the hydrangea. Shape it however you want. You can let it rust for some color. You can paint it. I don't like the painted look, but a lot of people do, and it's your project. If you want to acid dip it, I'll cover that later on. That leaves some really nice color. Just go through at the end and make sure that ring or roll of the stem pieces is nice and secure to the stem, and make sure that some of the flower pieces bend down so you don't see that as much. It's that one's pretty good. This was kind of the one that was bugging me the most, how I was going to figure out how to get it done, and I'm really happy that it did. Hope you guys like it. So, on to the daisies. This one's simple. You get 2 in a sheet, cut them apart as you see, and then break all the individual pieces apart. Again, just trimming them with some snips. You're going to start with the smallest piece. I've missed some pictures here, but the smallest one gets welded on first. Next, spacing them, rotating them however you feel. Make sure you get a good weld on that last one. Then go back to the front, or the smallest piece, and put a nice bead all the way around where the stem meets the opening in that piece. You know, daisies have a little bit of a lump up in the center, and I feel like the weld looks similar enough to that. If you really wanted to get fancy, you could epoxy on a little piece of steel wool, something like that. You're going to heat the petals up and just bend them however you feel. You don't even really need to heat them up. You can do them by hand as you go if you want to, if you don't want to, you know, have the heat discoloration on the metal. And yeah, I mean, daisies are pretty simple. You know, gather a bunch of them. I'm going to be coming out with some like leaves and stuff that you could decorate a bundle with. This is all going to be one bigger package. And lastly, for this instruction set, the Alastomeria, or Lily of the Incas. It comes, again, 2 to a sheet. Cut them apart. Cut all the pieces off the leaf that's in the center. You don't have to use the leaf if you don't want to. Again, just trimming. We're going to start with the centermost piece with the stamens or whatever they are on it. You tack that to your stem. Roll it around. Use some pliers, whatever. Put another tack on it. And then you're going to set your petals. You don't want them all the way rammed up to the top of the stem there. You want the stamens to stick up a little bit. It's just a tack on either side of the little stem piece of the petal. You can arrange them however you want, but the way I've seen pictures of these and looked at them, held them in my hand, is that you, for the innermost petals, the smaller ones, you kind of want one at like 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 6 o'clock. Something like that, or maybe even like 1:30, 10:30, and 6 o'clock if you're following me there. Now on to the outer petals. To me, these need to be kind of, you know, at noon, 3:30, and 8:30, something like that. You know, that's the beauty of these. They're all unique, so you do it however you want to. Look at some pictures of these. You know, same thing with the welding. Don't over weld and melt away the bottom of the pedal. These are a little delicate at the bottom, but once you've got them all in there, you can add some more weld, kind of lock it all together. It's just tack, so I've got my welder set way down for this, and it worked out fine for me. I didn't really burn through any once I dialed the welder in. When it comes to the heating, the innermost pedals, I'm going to take a little pair of pliers on either side of the pedal after heating it up, grab a hold of it, bend it back, but also push the bottom of my pliers towards the center of the flower, and that will make the pedal cup backwards. And then I'm going to twist my hands towards each other, which is going to roll the pedal up convex a little bit. Now we go to the outer pedals. It's pretty much the exact same process, except to me these need a little bit more of a hook on them at the back, and I rolled my hands outward as I did it, which makes the top of the pedal a little concave. And then I moved on to the stamens, or whatever they are. I just heated them up a bunch and then took a pair of pliers, squeezed them, and gave them a little bit of a twist just to make them all look a little random. And then the leaf, that one I welded in earlier on. I would suggest doing it later on. And I put mine a little high, for my opinion. But it's the same process. Weld it to the stem, heat it up, bend it however you want to, and get it all nice and cleaned up. Now let's go through the acid dipping. I'm using muriatic acid, which is nasty stuff. You can do this in vinegar. It takes, 8 to 12 to 16 hours in vinegar. Muriatic acid takes about 2 minutes, so your call there. But I am just going to dunk the piece in the acid, swish it around some, pull it out, look at it, put it back in a couple times until I see a color developing I like, and then immediately I'm going to wash it off in water, and then I'm going to another bucket with baking soda dissolved in water, and that will neutralize the acid. Give it one more rinse in the water, and we're good to go. You can check it out. I let this dry in the sun for 20 minutes or whatever, and then sprayed some clear coat on it, and I am happy with the way they turn out after an acid wash. If you play with how long you let the acid sit on the steel, you can come up with a bunch of different color combinations. And the good news here is if you don't like what you have, you can let the thing sit in the acid until it strips it all the way back down to bare steel. Then you can heat it back up again to get that blued effect all over the whole flower. That takes a minute. And then try again. So, and you've got, a dozen tries or so before you've really eaten enough metal away for it to really matter. So it's one way to do it. Be careful with muriatic acid. It will bite you, and bite you hard. So wear proper protection, all that. Do it in a ventilated space, and never leave muriatic acid fumes somewhere where you have anything made out of steel that you care about. Don't do it in your garage. It will rust everything, your garage door opener, your rails, your car. Anything those fumes hit, they're going to cause to rust overnight, basically, and they're nasty. So really, really don't do this inside.